16 black actors who are gay. Then and now 2026. What if some of the most powerful names in black Hollywood didn't rise by telling the world everything, but by choosing what not to say? For decades, careers were built under pressure, rumors and impossible expectations, where one truth spoken too soon could end everything. Tonight, we're cutting through the noise, the speculation, and the fake narratives to look at what really defines black excellence in 2026. These stories aren't comfortable, and they're not simple. Subscribe to the Black Excellence List. Join the discussion below and ask yourself, do we demand honesty from celebrities, or do we owe them the freedom we were never given? Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry's story is less a Hollywood fairy tale than a long, bruising climb, one built on persistence, faith, and a stubborn refusal to quit. He was born September 13, 1969 in New Orleans, Louisiana, and his early years were marked by hardship. He has spoken about writing as an escape, a way to turn chaos into something he could control. That habit, putting truth on paper, became the seed of a career that would later reshape black entertainment. In the early 1990s, Perry poured everything into staging I Know I've Been Changed. The first attempts flopped, and he spiraled into financial collapse, including periods of living out of his car. But instead of walking away, he rewrote, retooled, and kept touring. Over time, black church communities across the South embraced his work, and the momentum finally shifted. His breakthrough wasn't an overnight miracle. It was a slow burn fueled by audiences who recognized their own lives in his characters. Then came Medea, the sharp-tongued matriarch, who could turn a joke into a sermon without warning. Through comedy, Perry tackled grief, betrayal, forgiveness, and survival, expanding from stage to film and television. He created major projects such as House of Pain and delivered box office successes like Diary of a Mad Black Woman, 2005. In 2019, he opened Tyler Perry Studios in Atlanta, a major production facility that represented a rare level of creative control and ownership for a black filmmaker. Do we judge artists by their work, or do we feel entitled to their private life too? For years, speculation has followed Perry, including talk about his sexuality. If we're serious about accuracy, the line is simple. He has not publicly identified his sexuality, and he has repeatedly signaled that his personal life is not a public debate. Instead, he's built an empire, created opportunities, and used his platform to give back, proving that sometimes the most powerful statement isn't what you explain, but what you build. Michael K. Williams. Michael K. Williams left an imprint on American television that went far beyond fame. Born November 22, 1966, in Brooklyn, New York, he grew up in the Vanderveer housing projects, raised largely by his mother, who immigrated from the Bahamas. His early environment was shaped by economic pressure and street-level realities, but Williams found an outlet through movement. Dance became his first language of expression, eventually placing him on stages and tours with artists like Madonna and George Michael before acting ever entered the picture. A turning point came in his mid-20s when a violent altercation left a permanent scar across his face. Instead of ending his ambitions, that mark became part of his identity, one that casting directors couldn't forget. His defining breakthrough arrived in 2002 with Omar Little on HBO's The Wire. Omar was an openly gay, highly intelligent stick-up man who lived by his own moral code. Williams portrayed him with restraint and humanity, dismantling stereotypes about masculinity, sexuality, and power in one of television's most acclaimed dramas. Williams refused to be boxed into one image. He delivered layered performances in projects such as Boardwalk Empire, 12 Years a Slave, When They See Us, and Lovecraft Country. Off-screen, his life was not polished or protected. He spoke openly about long-term struggles with substance addiction, acknowledging relapses even during professional success. That honesty fueled his advocacy work, particularly around criminal justice reform and support for vulnerable youth. Regarding his own identity, accuracy matters. Michael K. Williams never publicly labeled his sexuality. While he was celebrated as an ally and for portraying queer characters with dignity, he maintained personal boundaries that deserve respect. His life ended in September 2021 at age 54 due to an accidental overdose, but his legacy remains vivid. Williams showed that vulnerability can coexist with strength, and that truth on screen often begins with courage in real life. Tyrese Gibson. Tyrese Gibson's journey is rooted in survival before stardom. Born December 30th, 1978 and raised in Watts, Los Angeles, he grew up in a single-parent household after his father left the family. Resources were limited, but ambition wasn't. Music became his first doorway out. At just 16, a Coca-Cola commercial shot on a city bus and powered by his voice introduced him to a national audience and changed his trajectory overnight. By 1998, Tyrese released his self-titled debut album, led by the hit Sweet Lady, which earned a Grammy nomination and established him as a major R&B presence. Instead of staying in one lane, he pivoted. His film breakthrough arrived with Baby Boy, 2001, directed by John Singleton, where his raw, emotionally exposed performance surprised critics who expected a singer, not a serious actor. Hollywood followed. He joined global franchises, including Fast and Furious and Transformers, becoming one of the rare entertainers to balance chart success with blockbuster visibility. When a man shows emotion publicly, do we still mistake vulnerability for weakness? Fame, however, brought relentless scrutiny. Over the years, speculation about Tyrese's sexuality circulated online, often tied to his emotional openness and affectionate language toward male friends. To be clear and factual, Tyrese Gibson has repeatedly stated that he is heterosexual and has pushed back against those rumors, emphasizing that sensitivity and masculinity are not opposites. Reducing emotional expression to gossip, he has argued, limits how men are allowed to exist in public. Away from red carpets, Tyrese has spoken candidly about depression, highly public divorces, and the strain of co-parenting under a microscope. His daughter Shayla, born in 2007, remains central to his identity. He has also authored books, invested in business ventures, and used social media, sometimes controversially, to discuss mental health and accountability. Tyrese Gibson's story isn't about fitting a label. It's about refusing a narrow definition of strength and insisting that honesty, even when uncomfortable, still belongs in the spotlight. Donnie McClurkin. Donnie McClurkin's life reflects the tension between spiritual leadership and personal history, a journey shaped by pain, faith, and public scrutiny. Born November 9, 1959 in Amityville, New York, he grew up surrounded by music, but also deep trauma. As a child, McClurkin has publicly shared that he was sexually abused by family members, an experience that left lasting emotional wounds and profoundly influenced his understanding of identity, trust, and belief. Music and church became his refuge, offering structure where life had once felt chaotic. By the 1980s, his vocal ability set him apart. He performed alongside gospel pioneers such as Andre Crouch and eventually formed the McClurkin Singers, sharpening a sound rooted in traditional gospel but open to modern expression. His career reached a turning point in 1996 with his self-titled debut album, which included songs like Stand and We Fall Down. These tracks became staples in churches across the United States and beyond. Over time, McClurkin earned 3 Grammy Awards, 10 Stellar Awards, and 2 BET Awards, cementing his status as one of gospel music's most influential voices. What separates McClurkin from many public figures is his willingness to speak about uncomfortable truths. He has openly acknowledged having had same-sex relationships in the past, while also stating that he identifies as heterosexual today. He has attributed those experiences to childhood trauma rather than sexual orientation, a stance that sparked intense debate within both religious and LGBTQ+ communities. Importantly, these statements come directly from McClurkin himself, not speculation. Beyond controversy, his life includes survival. He overcame leukemia, endured a near-fatal car accident in 2018, and continued leading Perfecting Faith Church in New York while recording and touring internationally. Donnie McClurkin remains a complex figure revered by supporters, questioned by critics, but undeniably human. His story reminds us that belief is rarely linear, and that public faith often carries private fractures beneath the surface. Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx's career is a study in range, creative, emotional, and professional, built over decades rather than moments. Born Eric Marlon Bishop on December 13, 1967 in Terrell, Texas, he was raised primarily by his grandmother, whose discipline and structure shaped his early life. Music arrived first. Foxx began playing piano at a young age and immersed himself in church choirs where performance wasn't about fame, but connection. Comedy followed soon after, becoming the vehicle that carried him out of small rooms and onto national stages. In the early 1990s, Foxx broke through on In Living Color, where his impressions and improvisational sharpness made him a standout. That visibility led to The Jamie Foxx Show, a sitcom that quietly demonstrated his ability to anchor long-form storytelling. But the industry's perception of him shifted dramatically in 2004 when he portrayed Ray Charles in Ray. The performance demanded total immersion. Foxx famously learned Charles's mannerisms, played piano live, and endured physical discomfort to capture authenticity. The result was historic, an Academy Award for Best Actor, making him one of only a few black men to receive that honor. When an artist gives the public everything on screen, are they still expected to give away their private life too? Despite fame, Foxx has consistently drawn that line. Over the years, speculation about his personal relationships and sexuality has surfaced, fueled by tabloid culture rather than confirmation. Factually and clearly, Jamie Foxx has never publicly identified as gay, nor has he confirmed such claims. He has repeatedly chosen discretion, emphasizing that his work, not rumor, defines him. Beyond acting, Foxx achieved major success in music, earning Grammy Awards for hits like Blame It and collaborations across hip-hop and R&B. In 2023, he faced a serious medical emergency that required hospitalization, later confirming his recovery without detailing specifics. That restraint reinforced a pattern openness in art, privacy, and life. Jamie Foxx remains influential not because he explains himself, but because his talent keeps speaking even when he doesn't. Wanda Sykes. Wanda Sykes built her career by telling the truth loudly, then choosing the exact moment to tell it fully. Born March 7, 1964 in Portsmouth, Virginia, she grew up in a structured middle-class household. Her father worked for the Pentagon, her mother in banking, and expectations were clear: stability first. Sykes followed that path, earning a degree from Hampton University and taking a job at the National Security Agency. Comedy was not the plan. It was the interruption that changed everything. Her sharp, observational voice found its way onto stand-up stages in Washington, D.C., where audiences quickly realized she wasn't interested in safe laughs. By the late 1990s, Sykes was writing for The Chris Rock Show, a role that earned her an Emmy Award in 1999 and positioned her behind the scenes as a creative force. On screen, she became instantly recognizable through projects like Curb Your Enthusiasm, The New Adventures of Old Christine, and later Blackish. While her animated voice work expanded her reach across generations. In 2008, Sykes made a decision that reshaped her public identity. Speaking at a same-sex marriage rally in Las Vegas, she publicly came out as a lesbian. The announcement wasn't framed as a confession, but as a declaration, one that arrived after years of guarded privacy, including a previous marriage to a man. Soon after, she married Alex Sykes, and in 2009 they welcomed twins Olivia and Lucas. Visibility followed, but so did purpose. Rather than separating activism from humor, Sykes fused them. Her later stand-up specials addressed race, politics, health, and sexuality, with surgical wit earning multiple Emmy nominations and critical acclaim. After surviving breast cancer in 2011, she added survivorship to her narrative without letting it define her. Wanda Sykes endures because she never softened her edge to be accepted. She proved that authenticity doesn't dilute comedy, it sharpens it. Marsai Martin. Marsai Martin represents a generational shift in Hollywood, one where age no longer determines authority, and silence can be a deliberate form of self-definition. Born August 14, 2004 in Plano, Texas, she entered the industry early, guided by parents who recognized her confidence and discipline. Long before most children understand auditions, Martin was already navigating sets with precision. That preparation paid off when she landed the role of Diane Johnson on ABC's Blackish in 2014, a character whose sharp humor and self-assurance often mirrored Martin's real-life poise. Across 8 seasons, audiences watched her grow up on screen, earning multiple NAACP Image Awards and critical praise for comedic timing far beyond her years. Yet her most disruptive move came off camera. At just 14, Martin became the youngest executive producer in Hollywood history with the 2019 comedy Little. The film grossed close to $50 million worldwide, proving that leadership isn't tied to age, it's tied to vision. Through that moment, she reframed how young black talent could participate in decision-making, not just performance. When fame arrives this early, is protecting privacy a weakness or a form of power? As her profile expanded online, speculation followed, including unfounded commentary about her personal life and sexuality. Here's where accuracy matters. Marsai Martin has never publicly identified as gay or otherwise, and she has consistently chosen not to engage with rumors. Instead, she has positioned herself as an ally speaking in favor of inclusion, while reinforcing that no one, especially young women, owes the public personal disclosures. Beyond film and television, Martin co-founded Genius Productions, continues voice work in animated features, and has emerged as a fashion and brand collaborator without diluting her message. Now in her early 20s, she stands as a case study in modern celebrity ambitious, without overexposure, influential without oversharing. Marsai Martin's story isn't about labels, it's about control. Control of narrative, timing, and self. In an industry that often demands everything, she's shown that choosing what not to give can be just as defining. Brandon Kyle Goodman. Brandon Kyle Goodman has emerged as a voice that refuses to separate creativity from conscience. Raised in Queens, New York within a deeply religious West Indian household, his early years were shaped by strict expectations and limited language around identity. As a young black queer person, Goodman has spoken about feeling unseen, learning early that silence was often rewarded more than honesty. Rather than internalizing that erasure, he turned to storytelling, using humor, vulnerability, and precision to carve out space where none existed. His breakthrough reached mainstream audiences through animation. As the voice of Walter the Hormone Monster on Netflix's Big Mouth and Human Resources, Goodman brought emotional depth to a character tasked with representing queer adolescence. What could have been exaggerated comedy became something far more layered: awkwardness, desire, fear, and joy delivered with lived understanding. That performance marked him not just as a voice actor, but as a cultural translator for experiences rarely centered. Goodman's impact extends well beyond the screen. He has worked as a writer and producer in multiple writers' rooms, consistently pushing for narratives that reflect intersectionality, where race, sexuality, and faith coexist rather than compete. In 2022, he published his memoir, You Gotta Be You, a candid exploration of shame, belief, mental health, and self-acceptance. The book resonated widely because it refused tidy conclusions, instead honoring growth as an ongoing process. During the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests, Goodman's raw social media reflections went viral. Speaking directly to exhaustion, grief, and resilience, he became an unexpected public thinker. Someone audiences turned to, not for slogans, but for honesty. He openly identifies as gay, grounding his advocacy in personal truth rather than abstraction. In today's landscape, Brandon Kyle Goodman represents a new kind of public figure, one who entertains, educates, and challenges without softening the message. His work insists on one central idea that living openly isn't attention-seeking. Sometimes it's survival. Tika Sumpter. Tika Sumpter's career has unfolded with intention rather than noise, marked by steady choices and a clear sense of self. Born June 20th, 1980. In Queens, New York, she entered entertainment through modeling and television hosting before committing fully to acting. Early visibility came on BET's Best Friends date, but her first major acting foothold arrived in 2005 when she joined the cast of One Life to Live. Over 4 years, she developed a reputation for grounded performances that felt lived in rather than performed. Her transition to film revealed range and patience. Roles in Stomp the Yard. Think Like a Man and Ride Along positioned her as a dependable presence in ensemble casts, but it was her portrayal of Michelle Obama in Southside with U 2016 that shifted critical perception. The performance required restraint and nuance, capturing intellect and warmth without imitation, and it signaled Sumpter's ability to carry historical weight with credibility. Later work, including the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, expanded her reach to global audiences without diluting that seriousness. Is choosing privacy in a culture of oversharing a form of quiet strength? As her profile grew online, curiosity about her personal life followed. To be precise and responsible, Tika Sumpter has never publicly identified as gay. She has consistently declined to engage with speculation, drawing a firm line between professional visibility and personal disclosure. That boundary has remained intact even as public interest intensified, an approach that underscores agency rather than avoidance. Away from the spotlight. Sumpter's life reflects stability and focus. She shares a family with actor Nicholas James, whom she met while working on The Haves and the Have-Nots. They welcomed their daughter in 2016 and later married in 2022. Beyond acting, she co-founded Sugarberry, a lifestyle brand centered on wellness and conversation for Black women, extending her influence beyond the screen. Tika Sumpter's story isn't driven by controversy or confession. It's defined by consistency, choosing roles, carefully protecting personal space, and letting work speak with clarity long after the noise fades. Colman Domingo. Colman Domingo's career stands as proof that patience and self-knowledge can outlast trends. Born November 28, 1969 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and raised in a working-class family with Caribbean roots, his path to prominence was anything but fast. Domingo originally studied journalism at Temple University, imagining a future in reporting before an unexpected pull toward theater redirected his life. That late pivot became an advantage, giving him a storyteller's instinct long before Hollywood noticed his face. His foundation was built on stage, not screens. Domingo spent years in regional theater and one-man shows, crafting performances that blended memory music and identity. Works like A Boy and His Soul drew critical praise for their emotional honesty, establishing him as a serious dramatic force. Broadway followed, including acclaimed appearances in Passing Strange and The Scottsboro Boys, where his command of language and presence made him impossible to ignore. Television and film eventually amplified his reach. Domingo became widely recognized for Victor Strand on Fear the Walking Dead, a role that balanced charm, ambition, and moral ambiguity. Later, his portrayal of Ali on HBO's Euphoria earned him a Primetime Emmy Award in 2022, showcasing a quieter power rooted in empathy. On the big screen, his work in If Beale Street Could Talk, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and his Oscar-nominated performance as Bayard Rustin elevated him into a rare category of actor trusted with cultural history. What distinguishes Domingo is transparency paired with stability. He is openly gay and has been married to his husband, Raul Domingo, since 2014, a relationship he speaks about without spectacle. Beyond acting, he is an accomplished playwright and director, often centering voices excluded from mainstream narratives. Colman Domingo's legacy is still unfolding, but its shape is already clear. He didn't wait for permission to exist fully. By bringing every part of himself into his work, He expanded what leadership, masculinity, and artistry can look like in modern Hollywood. Kevin Aviance. Kevin Aviance's influence was forged far from movie studios in spaces where survival and self-expression were inseparable. Born June 22, 1968 in Richmond, Virginia, he grew up in a large Catholic household where conformity was expected and difference was rarely welcomed. As the youngest of 8 children, Aviance gravitated toward rhythm movement and spectacle early on, sensing that performance offered a language more honest than words. That instinct would later define an entire era of nightlife culture. At 18, he relocated to Washington, D.C., immersing himself in underground drag and club scenes before settling in New York City. There, Aviance became a commanding presence within the legendary House of Aviance, where ballroom wasn't simply competition, it was declaration. Towering height, sculptural costuming, and avant-garde makeup turned each appearance into a living manifesto. His work blurred boundaries between dance, fashion, and theater, helping elevate club performance into cultural art. When creativity is born from resistance, does it carry more weight than mainstream success? Music expanded his reach. In the mid-1990s, Aviance released tracks that dominated dance floors, including Din Da Da and later Alive, a song that gained renewed meaning after 9/11, becoming an anthem of endurance and renewal. His voice and presence made him a fixture not only in clubs, but within global queer spaces that recognized his authenticity. In 2006, Aviance survived a brutal hate crime that left him seriously injured. Rather than retreat, he returned to performance, transforming trauma into defiance. That resilience cemented his role as a symbol of survival for Black LGBTQ+ communities worldwide. Decades later, his legacy reached a new generation when Beyoncé sampled his voice on her 2023 album Renaissance, directly acknowledging ballroom's foundational impact on modern pop. Kevin Aviance is not remembered for fitting into an industry. He is remembered for shaping culture from the margins inward, proving that true innovation often begins where visibility is least protected yet most necessary. Jeffrey Bowyer-Chapman. Jeffrey Bowyer-Chapman's path into the spotlight reflects the layered reality of growing up both visible and unseen. Born October 21, 1984 in Edmonton, Alberta, he was adopted into a mixed-race family and raised in a small Canadian town where difference stood out sharply. From an early age, he understood what it meant to live between worlds racially, culturally, and emotionally. That awareness later became a quiet strength rather than a limitation. Before acting, Bowyer-Chapman built a successful career in international modeling, working across Europe, Asia, and North America. Fashion gave him visibility, but not fulfillment. Acting offered something deeper: narrative control. By his early 20s, he transitioned into film and television, gradually earning roles that emphasized presence over spectacle. His career reached a turning point with the Lifetime series Unreal 2015 to 2018, where he portrayed Jay, a sharp, openly gay television producer navigating power, ambition, and survival behind the scenes of reality TV. The role resonated because it avoided caricature, showing complexity without apology. In 2020, Bowyer-Chapman joined Canada's Drag Race as a judge, becoming one of the few Black gay men in that position within a global franchise built on queer culture. The visibility was historic, but the backlash was harsh. He endured intense racist and homophobic abuse online, eventually stepping away from the show. Rather than silence him, the experience sparked necessary conversations about how inclusion can still fail when intersectionality is ignored. Bowyer-Chapman has been openly gay throughout his public life, speaking candidly about mental health, self-worth, and the emotional toll of constant scrutiny. Beyond television, he continues working in scripted projects, podcasting, and advocacy, using his voice to challenge narrow definitions of belonging. Jeffrey Bowyer-Chapman's story isn't defined by retreat. It's defined by discernment, knowing when to step back, when to speak up, and how to protect yourself while still standing in the truth of who you are. Jeremy Pope. Jeremy Pope's ascent has been driven by disciplined precision and a refusal to minimize who he is. Born July 9, 1992 in Orlando, Florida, he grew up in a supportive household that recognized his artistic focus early. Rather than chasing quick recognition, Pope committed to craft training at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York City, where performance was treated as labor, not luck. That foundation would soon separate him from his peers. His earliest major impact came on the stage where presence matters more than image. In 2019, Pope achieved a rare milestone, 2 Tony Award nominations in the same year. One was for Choir Boy, portraying a gifted student navigating sexuality, faith, and masculinity within an elite black prep school. The other came from Ain't Too Proud, where he embodied Eddie Kendricks with vocal precision and emotional restraint. The dual nominations placed him in a small, historic group of performers and announced him as a serious force in theater. When a role mirrors lived experience, does it demand more courage from the actor or from the audience? Hollywood followed, but Pope didn't soften his edge. In 2020, he starred in Netflix's Hollywood, playing a black gay screenwriter fighting erasure inside a system designed to exclude him. The performance earned him an Emmy nomination not for spectacle, but for authenticity. His most challenging screen work arrived with The Inspection 2022, where he portrayed a young gay man entering the U.S. Marines. The role demanded physical endurance and emotional vulnerability, earning Pope a Golden Globe nomination and critical acclaim. Pope is openly gay, and unlike earlier generations, he has never framed that fact as a liability. Beyond acting, he records music, writes, and speaks openly about the pressure placed on black queer men to be exceptional just to be accepted. Jeremy Pope's career is still unfolding, but its direction is clear. He isn't asking permission to belong. He's demonstrating through excellence that visibility paired with mastery can no longer be ignored. Karamo Brown. Karamo Brown's public life has always blended visibility with service, turning personal truth into a tool for healing. Born November 2, 1980 in Houston, Texas, and raised in a religious multicultural household, he confronted identity questions early. At 15, Brown came out as gay to his family, an act of bravery in the mid-1990s that shaped his understanding of courage long before cameras arrived. That honesty would become a through line, not a headline. His first national exposure came in 2004 on MTV's The Real World Philadelphia, where he became the first openly gay black man on reality television. Rather than chase notoriety, Brown used the platform to spark conversations about race, masculinity, and acceptance, at a time when such topics were rarely centered. After the show, he stepped away from entertainment to work in social services, becoming a licensed psychotherapist and focusing on LGBTQ+ youth and families work that grounded his later media presence in real-world impact. Brown's life took an unexpected turn when he learned he had a young son from a past relationship. Embracing fatherhood, he gained full custody and built a family while continuing advocacy work. In 2018, he returned to the spotlight as the culture expert on Netflix's Queer Eye reboot. His role went beyond style or surface fixes. Brown guided participants through conversations about trauma, self-worth, and identity, helping the show reach a broader emotional depth and global audience. Beyond television, Brown is an author and speaker. His memoir, Karamo, My Story of Embracing Purpose, Healing, and Hope, 2019 detailed his journey through coming out, depression, and resilience. He has also spoken openly about mental health challenging stereotypes around black masculinity and emotional expression. Karamo Brown's influence isn't rooted in performance alone. It lies in consistency, showing that authenticity paired with compassion can transform visibility into lasting change. Daryl Stephens. Daryl Stephens occupies a unique place in television history, not because of spectacle, but because of presence. Born March 7, 1974 in Pasadena, California, he came of age with a strong academic foundation, later studying sociology and ethnic studies at the University of California, Berkeley. Those disciplines sharpened his understanding of how identity, culture, and power interact long before he ever stepped in front of a camera. Acting for Stephens was never about celebrity. It was about visibility with intention. His defining moment arrived in 2005 with the debut of Noah's Ark on the Logo Network. Stephens played Noah Nicholson, a thoughtful, style-conscious screenwriter navigating love, friendship, and career alongside other black gay men. The series marked a historic first. It was the first U.S. television drama centered entirely on black gay male lives. For many viewers, it wasn't just entertainment, it was recognition. Stephens brought warmth, vulnerability, and emotional realism to a character rarely allowed to exist on television without parody. When people finally see themselves on screen, does that change how they see themselves in real life? Although the show lasted only 2 seasons, followed by the 2008 film Noah's Ark, Jumping the Broom, its cultural impact outlived its runtime. Stephens continued working across television, film, and theater, choosing projects that aligned with authenticity rather than volume. Beyond acting, he emerged as a writer, publishing novels such as Required Reading and Indigo Blues, where he explored intimacy, race, and self-definition with the same care he brought to performance. Stephens is openly gay and has consistently spoken about the challenges faced by black queer actors in an industry that still limits opportunity through silence or typecasting. His career may not chase headlines, but its influence runs deep. Daryl Stephens proved that representation doesn't need to shout to be revolutionary. Sometimes it simply needs to exist honestly and without apology. Jerrod Carmichael. Jerrod Carmichael's career has been defined by a rare willingness to dismantle his own armor in public. Born April 6, 1987 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, he was raised in a working-class, deeply religious household where discipline and restraint were valued. Comedy became his release valve, a way to question authority, family norms, and social contradictions without direct confrontation. By his early 20s, armed with little money but sharp observational instinct, Carmichael relocated to Los Angeles, committing fully to stand-up. His ascent was swift but unconventional. Industry veterans noticed not just his jokes, but his restraint, an economy of words that trusted silence as much as punchlines. That approach carried him to HBO with Love at the Store 2014, followed by 8 2017, and eventually into network television with The Carmichael Show. The sitcom tackled racism, policing gun violence, and generational conflict head-on, earning praise for reviving socially confrontational comedy on primetime television without softening its edge. Performed in an intimate jazz club, the special abandoned traditional structure and delivered something closer to a confession. During the set, Carmichael publicly came out as gay, not as a reveal engineered for applause, but as an act of necessity. The moment was historic, especially for a black male comic whose career had thrived without leaning on identity. The special earned him an Emmy Award, affirming that vulnerability itself could be considered craft. The aftermath wasn't tidy. Carmichael later revealed strained family relationships, including painful distance from his mother. Instead of retreating, he integrated that discomfort into his work. He went on to host the Golden Globe Awards in 2023, balancing humor with pointed commentary, and expanded into film as both actor and director. Jerrod Carmichael doesn't offer resolution, only honesty. His work suggests that truth isn't always freeing at first, but it is clarifying. And sometimes clarity is the bravest punchline of all. From Tyler Perry's tightly held privacy to Jerrod Carmichael's raw public truth, these journeys show that black excellence and LGBTQ+ visibility never come in one simple form. Some artists step forward and reshape culture with their names on it. Others change the industry quietly through ownership, craft, and influence. What connects them isn't gossip. It's the cost of being seen and the courage of choosing when to speak. In 2026, representation is bigger than ever, yet expectations feel louder too. So what's the real progress, more confessions, or more freedom to choose silence? You're watching the Black Excellence List. Now tell us which side you're on.